out of them, right? They have to get JJ ahead, get him into a spot where he can just carry through the entire rest of the map, because it hasn't looked at any point like FPX can get things going for themselves in their individual lanes. There's been a couple moments where maybe Cares looked alright, or Shears found a little bit of success here or there, but it hasn't really been theirs to take. TES, they're going to start out, 369 going to grab himself that Rumble, and that's going to put some extra pressure right here onto FPX to potentially take that Wukong, unless they want to give that awesome combo between the Monkey and the Rumble in the top lane.
Normally, one of the mid laners that gets banned out a lot against Care is the Yone. This is not happening for this draft, so I imagine that by securing the Trundle, they're not even thinking about a Yone Sejuani combo. But this will set up a Yone Sejuani combo that is something that will need to be feared later on in the series drafts. Now, FPX, there's still things like the Aurora that you could play for. You could slam that for Sheer if he feels comfortable trying to take that as the counter matchup into 369's Rumble, or you could just go for one of the high priority mid laners in Taliyah instead.
Yeah, absolutely. Kanavi has also really liked himself that Jarvan, so I wonder if you now want to grab yourself a Jarvan here. Early pickup of the Ornn. The Ornn into the Rumble, it's a fine lane matchup. You're not really worried about what happens to you in the individual laning phase. It's about what you can bring to your team later on, and those ornaments also give you that late game scaling that you can potentially lean on as FPX if you think you want to go super late into the match. TES, hovering two very different champions. This will dictate the style of game they're playing.
I almost wonder if Top Esports are trying to call out JiaQi, since they know that some of the few wins that FPX have found in the past, either JiaQi was empowered on the Lucian thanks to a very aggressive jungle support combo from Jwei and formerly IYY, or you play for late, you try to scale with the Smolder, and Top Esports clearly doing their homework, but now going for a Jarvan, as that has been a Kanavi classic when other skirmisher junglers are not available, actually just trying to make sure that you can lock down this Trundle and prevent him from being able to participate or interact in the fight.
Yeah, I really do like this out of TES. They've got themselves a ton of damage onto those combos. It's going to leave FPX in a situation where you're going to need quite a mobile ADC. I think the priority of an Ezreal or a Xayah is going to be rising massively here, because otherwise, if you get jumped on a lot of these other champions, you are just going to immediately go on down. It looks like FPX, they don't want to get themselves that ADC at this point in the game so far, looking more on towards that Taliyah. And we saw in the previous round where a proactive Taliyah is critical. If you sit back on Taliyah and don't try to get involved, you can just fall behind really badly. The Taliyah plus Ornn combo, though, as well, can be really fun in that if you come from different angles and both throw your ultis down, it's incredibly difficult to get away, and that can set up for those team fights.
And especially if Taliyah is in position for where the Ornn is going to connect onto multiple members. It's not Pantheon, it's not Xin Zhao, it's not Vibe, but still, that's a knockup that can guarantee the Seismic Shove full rotation spell burst from Taliyah to connect onto a key or priority group of targets there. FPX and Top Esports both recognizing now that bot lanes have yet to be locked in, so this focus is on the support pool. Rakan, normally associated with Jwei, but that has also been a big support pick for Hong in the past in some of their previous victories and the ones that have been most dominant. I think there was a series where he picked up back-to-back MVPs, one of them being on the Rakan, so it's a good shout-out.
Kai'Sa is going to be taken away, so they're looking to get rid of a lot of aggression. FPX, do you decide to go towards something a little bit more aggressive right here, and potentially something that can get locked down, or do you just need yourself that survivability against the combo? I do wonder if something like the Renata or the Nico might also be attractive options right here. You've got a lot of champions that are looking to sprint straight at you, and being able to just chuck that ulti down, stop them dead in their tracks would be useful.
Nice pick up for JiaQi here on the Corki. At least you can Valk outside of a Cataclysm and get away from that hot pot combo that they set up. But Top Esports, because they already have decent ways of at least engaging the fight with the Cataclysm, following up with the Equalizer and the Between Worlds, Top Esports are now able to go for a little disengage power with this Lucian Braum locked in.
But you can also get aggressive with this one, right? You've got somebody locked down in the baby cage, you just unleash that culling straight into them. TES, their combo is real strong. These team fights are going to be incredibly interesting to watch from them. For FPX, currently, they are looking on towards getting aggressive. Okay, you like it?
Well, the Magnastorm definitely gives FPX another source of primary engage to be able to go in. There was an angle, though, because a lot of people have been talking about how, why is Trundle not being flexed to support? especially when Braum is around, because in the past, Trundle support into Braum completely destroys that lane. But I think when FPX considered their jungle replacement option to Poppy, it's like, okay, cool, that gives us more disengage, but I think we really need more ways to initiate so that we have more tools to try and find something slippery like this Aurora, like this Lucian.
At this point, FPX already had themselves a ton of non-committal engage. You've got the Ornhorn coming on through. You can try throw out just a couple of those seismic shoves to get that initial bit of engage going, but you now needed the committal engage to fully pull people in, get those team fights going. I think the Rel's also really interesting in that TES could find themselves a little bit clumped up if you accidentally, as Kanavi, grab a couple of your own members in one of those baby cages. That Magnet Storm gets a hell of a lot easier to be able to jump on through, and this could be really fun for FPX. Still though, I do think I prefer what TES have got for themselves, especially if they can get Kanavi going early on and he can start rolling on the map. This composition just wombos beautifully.
The key really does come down to how well Jwei is able to set up his team for success against Kanavi, because we've seen how in the past top esports can falter and completely crumble when Kanavi does not get an ideal start for his team. But the compositions are locked in. We're queuing into game. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hit the riff for our second series of the night, and game one starting between top esports and FunPlus Phoenix. They're gyroing for FPX, but Kair's in trouble! Oh, the concussive blows lands! No! Not like this! Well, JackeyLove is gonna get first blood. He might get another kill here. Jwei is forced to flash, and that start is absolute cheeks for FPX.
Yeah, when we were talking about JackeyLove the Worlds, well, getting that first kill right here, hey, it's a good step on the ladder at this point. FPX did not want to give that initial kill, not over to the Lucian. Into the Corki matchup, the Lucian Braum can get aggressive, but you also have to be very careful that you do have enough return damage between JackeyLove and Jwei to be able to turn it back around and turn it into potentially interesting fights. At this point, now that JackeyLove has been able to grab that first blood, that just completely flips things on its heads. TES, beautiful start to this series.
Well, FPX, you know that this Lucian does not have flash, and a cleanse doesn't necessarily stop a pillar from ruining your day. So, Jwei, let's see if you can punish, because otherwise, JiaQi and Jwei are going to be very sad now that JackeyLove on one of his best 80 carries, and something that can snowball completely out of control, is now a kill ahead.
Yeah. Luckily, for the early laning phase of FPX, that is just going to be Shadow Gold. It's in his inventory, but he hasn't actually been able to turn it into anything effective stats-wise, not being able to head back to base. But it is going to make that first base that much more terrifying. So here, as JackeyLove and Jwei, you need to just get yourself into a decent spot early, but they're just getting pressed through. Obviously, that little bit of XP advantage as well, just making it so miserable to try to play into this bottom lane. And I don't see them being able to capitalize on the fact that that gold hasn't been spent yet.
Kanavi's pathing towards the top side of the map. As we get some stats from our producer, almost 12-14 versus... Listen, the Shy was able to identify it first. If he was denied the Aurora counter pick, he just slammed the tank, and his go-to tank was always Ornn. The Ram is able to at least deal with Rumbles in most of these matchups. Decent all-in from Jwei and JiaQi. JackeyLove now pops the cleanse and is below 50% HP. Jwei is in the area. Can he get to the bottom side of the map? But JackeyLove is going to take his base now.
Yeah, that was a nice start, right? Those concussive blows coming on through, and it makes it so difficult to try to actually get back away from these fights. Now Sheer just getting chased away. We talked about it a lot in that previous series in terms of people that haven't necessarily been having the best time in their laning phases. I'd put Sheer in that category. He's been getting pushed around by the majority of other top laners. There was a while where he had only been able to find himself wins on the Scion. That has changed since. He's lost on the Scion, he's won on some other things, but he still just hasn't been finding this laning phase success.
And strangely enough, he's been finding some better times when he gets his hands on the Rumble, which, thanks to Top Esports, they identified and said, yeah, that is our priority for our first pick of the draft phase, and completely deny that from Sheer for the rest of the series. So now he has to find a way to navigate without that comfort pick for himself already on the back foot. And decent job by JackeyLove to identify that JiaQi was trying to take a recall, stops it with the Ardent Blaze. Care is in trouble, knowing that Care has no flash, so Kanavi just commits with the flash EQ. And now it's 2 kills on the board for Top Esports.
And even with that seismic shove back, he's still going to be able to walk away. And this is what I wanted. I wanted to see Kanavi get himself as much of an aggressive lead early on as possible, because he's really going to be the engine driving this whole composition forwards. There's not a whole lot of hard engage coming out from this TES composition. The Brom is great when you're going backwards as a disengage tool, but a lot less effective when you're trying to chase into people. And the rest of your champions deal a lot of damage, but don't come with any CC really of their own. It's all on Kanavi to start these team fights off. And so for him to be in a strong position early on is critical.
If Kanavi can get that accelerated item spike for himself, that means he's more durable earlier on. He's ahead of the item curve. And when you make that solo dive mission with the Cataclysm, you are not going to be as nearly in peril as you would be in other scenarios. We've seen situations where Jarvan is behind the curve, and it's like, well, I have to send it with the Cataclysm, but I know I'm getting blown up as soon as I get in. At this pace, Kanavi will not be in that kind of scenario.
No, if you can get yourself that Sun Sky a little bit earlier on, that gives you so much extra healing, a little bit of extra damage as well, which could be very useful. And you don't want to be in a situation where you're just constantly jumping in knowing it's a 1-for-1. You want to be surviving through. And so TS happy with the way things are going so far. For FPX, yes, you fell behind, but both of those kills are at least onto Care. You know, you are isolating the person who is getting a little bit further behind. JiaQi's still fine, hasn't gone down. And yeah, interesting little bit of pathing right here. FPX are going to start themselves up this Drake instantaneously.
And I think Top Esports have no idea, because he was able to sneak through the one part of fog where that ward in the river was not able to spot Jwei. And now the ward is gone. This is going to be a clean early take from FPX to get the Dragon stacks rolling for themselves. Kanavi will not have a chance to really make any type of answer. They might be looking for the collapse on the Dragon. Top Esports have an idea that this is being done, and now it's confirmed on the map.
Yeah, not going to be any response here from TES, and FPX, they get away with that one. Exactly what we want to see. Sneak away these objectives, get yourself into a decent spot, because you have some nice scaling into the later stages of this game as FPX, especially with those ornaments once we get to that level 14 for sheer. So you just have to chill out a little bit and stem the bleeding. That's a problem I think FPX have been running into. They love to compound upon losses. Oh no, Care's messed up in a play and is now a little bit further behind. Well, we'll send him as a bit of an engage tool, and we'll send him again and again, and wow, he's 0-4? Who could have thought that that was going to happen? If they can slow things down, take a breath, they're going to get themselves out of these just horrible situations that they've been putting themselves into.
And in the previous series where FPX had a massive deficit, particularly in game 1 where JiaQi was getting focused and dove consistently by BLG, Jwei identified, guys, we just need to drop JiaQi and let him be like a dead limb. Do not associate with him while he is going through this rough time. We need to make plays on the other side of the map where Sheer is still strong, and we can try and get JiaQi back in the game that way. And so far, Jwei identifying that, listen, I can't really do anything on the lanes right now, but I snuck this Dragon. This gives us plenty of time now to shift over to the top side, see if we can contest for Grubs.
And Grubs would be really important to grab. We saw it in the previous series, just how quickly a Trundle can rip straight on through onto these towers, given half a chance. Picking it up would be critical here. For FPX, just gives them another way to try to play out this game. We've got the top laners down on the bottom side of the map right now. No teleports between them, so if we do end up with a big skirmish around this objective, it is only at most going to be a 4v4.
That'll be nice for FPX, since they do not have to deal with a 369 Rumble Equalizer that is somewhat ahead of the curve. Sheer might have been able to at least stop the bleeding now that he's got a little bit of HP and magic resist for himself. Kanavi's the first one onto the Grubs. But there's a control ward from the side of FPX, so they have full vision. Jwei and JiaQi trying to challenge the river right now. Hong steps up. Jwei trying to find it. Magnustorm flash from JiaQi, I should say, and he's going to be able to follow up here. The Weaver's Wall from Care trying to cut him off, and the flash of the Unraveled Earth gets revenge onto Top Esports members. And oh boy, FPX being able to pull that play off.
Creme continuing to hover around the area, not really sure what he's looking to do here in a 4v1 situation. Now his remaining members arrive. Sheer, though.
Sheer, Call of the Force God, completely whiffs, but Creme was forced to go in with the Between Worlds, forced to flash away. 369, already used the Equalizer, now he's out of there. But the rest of FPX got 2 Grubs, and if they can all survive, then that's A-okay.
Yeah, they would have loved to be able to pick themselves up that third grub, but it's not going to be the end of the world to just take that reset on through. And that's FPX fighting in an early skirmish and winning. Not something we've really been able to see from this team throughout the entirety of this split so far. Really well executed from them. Nice to see Care get himself back into this game as well with that flash forwards.
Once again, Jwei being able to help FPX decisively come away with solid macro wins on the board here. They get a kill for themselves, they don't overextend the play, and it's all on Jwei and Jwei to force the engage right here.
Jwei has been that diamond for FPX. The whole squad's been looking a little bit rough, but Jwei, he's been trying his absolute darndest to find them wins. And once again, really nice engage from him on the rel. We'll see if he's going to be able to find a couple more of those, right? Because he's that other bit of the puzzle. He's that final bit of full committal engage, and if he lands that Magnet Storm onto multiple people, especially if you compare it up alongside Sheer landing himself that Call of the Forge God, that is a great way for you to start out these team fights and allow JiaQi and allow JJ and Care to be able to play out the rest of it. I really like the way that he played that early skirmish, and that's gone a hell of a long way for getting FPX back into this game. They're now only down by about 500 gold. Nothing too much, nothing that they can't overcome.
Yep. Totally reasonable and doable for the side of FPX to strike back against top esports. First item spikes are starting to come online. The first one, a Sundered Sky for Kanavi. We mentioned that this would be something that FPX could potentially use as a way to try and force engages ahead of the curve before FPX start getting their own spikes. Kanavi was looking for a bot lane gank, but sees the control ward. That will stop the play from happening. And it's just all focusing up for the next dragon spawning in 7 seconds.
And the dragon going over to FPX would be great for them. Drake stacking, another way for them to just get these small advantages over TES that are going to be critical to picking up a game in this series. It looks like JJ is going to start this one up instantaneously, fully on the vision of TES though. They're going to know this is happening. And importantly, Sheer has teleport, 369 does not.
And JackeyLove just took a base, so he will not be here for the fight. So if Kanavi is going to try and contest for the smite, it might just be a one-way trip or the cost of a flash. Care and the rest of FPX trying to step up to make sure that that will not happen. And FPX have now secured the first 2 objectives of the game with at least 2 dragons to their side and all grubs. So that's actually the first 3 objective feats going their way.
Absolutely, and with these kills right now on 2 apiece, that next kill is going to do it. Send us over to the boots, and that's going to be critical. Again, we'll keep tracking on towards this one. Pings happening down towards the bottom side of the map right now. TES could potentially be looking for a dive right here.
Jwei and JiaQi in peril. Culling comes out from JackeyLove. Decent damage. Puts Jwei and JiaQi nearly at 50% HP. JJ arrives now with a Trinity Force. This could be enough for top esports to give respect back over to FPX, trying to contest for the Gromp right now, but Jet just smites it away. And now there's not really anything else for top esports to fight for, but Creme is going to be the first one to roam on over. Hong hits him with a Glacial Fissure, 2-man stun from Jwei between worlds, looks instantly for the backline. Kanavi sends him with a Cataclysm, but Jwei is able to finish him off. Jwei gets dropped, but now Cares arrives to the party, and here comes a TP from Sheer, who's looking with the Call of the Forge God, will just ensure that JackeyLove has nowhere else to go, and FPX are coming ahead against top esports, looking for Creme, who's on the run. Hong is going to be forced to die and give an execute over, but Care flashes to make sure that Creme's got nowhere else to go and picks up another kill for himself.
Jwei really nicely played right there to just stop that initial bit of engage, and it forces TES into one of the longest, slowest dive attempts that I think I've seen all year long. I mean, they were down there for forever. It allows Sheer to teleport on in, it allows Care to rotate on over, and just they get more members in the area. The response out of 369 is he's able to push into the top side and grab himself 2 turret plates, but that's not going to be worth all of the kill gold that FPX got.
Yep. Take a look back at the replay. As you called it, it's just so slow. It's so predictable.
So slow. And look at Jwei here. This is really nice from him. Great Magnet Storm. Just stops that initial bit of engage. Yes, he dies, but he's done his job. He's slowed down that engage out of TES, and they're here. They're still here. This is a full 30 seconds later. Hong at least gets the execute off, right? That's 1 extra kill that you didn't give over to your opponents, but you lose out onto so much for a play you chose to go for.
this is where top esports in the past have sometimes tripped over themselves, trying to force a play that seems really disrespectful of the opponents to be able to have a proper reaction to.
Yep.
Maybe FPX in the past would not have been able to coordinate that. But ever since JiaQi has come into the lineup for their series against BLG just last night, the team looks a lot more coordinated in these plays. They have yet to been able to win any games for themselves, but once again, we find ourselves in a situation where FPX are even with an opponent that is one of the top 2 teams in the league.
Hey, having a bad time in the LPL? Change your jungler. It seems like it is the solution, and what I would give to really hear what is happening in those comms, because yeah, this is the 3rd jungler that we're going to be seeing right here for FPX. Obviously, you get Milky Way? That's, yeah, that happens. IYY, not great either, obviously. But JJ, looking real good so far, and I wonder how much he is doing the shot calling for them, because they just feel so much more coordinated. Damn, losing half of the games you're ahead at, that's crazy.
Yep. Sometimes it's just not enough, but that is considering that a majority of the games for FPX with these stats did not have JiaQi in the lineup. So who... I mean, JiaQi unfortunately has not been able to win a game with FPX yet, but it's only a 2-game sample size so far. True.
It's better.
It's so better. I mean, you look at these games and you just see how FPX have been able to play some of these early scenarios out. We're on the Rift Herald right now. JiaQi secures it. Now FPX, do they want to turn around for this fight, or do they want to turn onto Creme? He goes into the between worlds. He's trying to break their ankles right now. Kanavi locks the ball up with the Cataclysm. JackeyLove able to free fire. Hong blocks Sheer's ultimate, and this just gives room for top esports to just empty full clips into members one after another. JiaQi caught on the wrong side of the tracks here, and FPX lose out 3 in the fight. Now 4.
Critical difference between this fight and all of the previous ones. It happens whilst 369 is there, and he puts down a beautiful equalizer. He's already got that Leandri's in inventory, and it just cooks FPX alive. There's no rebirth right there for the Phoenixes, and it's just so rough to see, because these previous fights have looked great, but they've not been doing it when there's a rumble in the area. Watch this one. Equalizer about to come on through. It lands straight across 3 members. They're still sat on it. There are still people sat on top of it. I mean, Sheer is sat on top of the equalizer the entire team fight. And yes, it's well played from the remaining members of TES, but it's all set up from that damage out of the rumble.
And as we criticized top esports before for disrespecting the power of FPX to be able to respond to the dive they made, I think it's fair to criticize FPX for disrespecting the power of the hot pot combo. That is something that we have seen time and time again, not just this year, but I mean, Jarvan Rumble combo has been out for years, guys. If you all clump up like that, you know exactly what Kanavi wants to do, and I think top esports just played out all the micro interactions as well as they could have.
Absolutely, they did, and now they get themselves back to a gold advantage right here versus FPX. 3rd Drake on the board right now. It would be so point if FPX can grab it for themselves. TES, they do not look like they want to allow that to happen. Kanavi nearly got his ulti back, so you are pretty much at full power to go skirmish here as TES.
Care trying to mark Creme's Aurora on the bottom side, but now he gives space over just so that he can reconnect with FPX on the other side of this wall. The dragon resets back to full HP. Top esports now have control of the river as FPX will shift their attention back into the mid wave. They have this herald. They're going to try to break open the map into this tier 1. JiaQi is taking the charge. Cares Weaver's Wall just a little too late, probably. He gets the charge in, but he gets caught by the swag flag dragon. JiaQi is just cooked. FPX lost out on their jungler. Jwei sends it, but the equalizer's beautiful. It cuts off JiaQi's and Sheer's escape. Care trying to run away, but he gets snagged by the Cataclysm, forced to flash. Here comes a... No, not again. Hong is able to block the call of the Forge God beautifully with that unbreakable shield. And unfortunately for Sheer, his ultimates have been feeling very useless.
Yeah, that's the problem with having the Braum picked up right here into the Ornn. Just gets to absorb away that call of the Forge God. And FPX, in what could have been a critical play for them, getting them onto Soul Point. They lose out multiple members. And the second that JJ puts down that Rift Herald, at least in my mind, I'm like, oh, are you actually going to ride that? Are you going to commit to this one? And then at this point, I'm like, he's going to not. He's going to crash into a wall near his base, right? Right? No. Like you said, the flag and drag from Kanavi. Beautiful to just immediately catch JJ, and the turn is so strong as well. 369. He has not missed with these equalizers. They have just been beautiful so far. and it means there's kind of nothing that you can do as FPX. They, all of a sudden, after a good early game, find themselves scrambling to play catch-up.
Those are sometimes underrated aspects about the equalizer. You'll see some players try and go for like the dream equalizer that is going to put them on the ultimate for the maximum duration of time. 369 just recognizes, I just want to slow them down and know exactly where they want to run, and you just drag basically a line across where they are forced to cross over anyway. So you're going to get some decent value out of it. And now, Top Esports in back-to-back sequences here, Bloxxer. What was a small gold advantage for the side of FPX, slightly ahead for Top Esports. It was even. It's now more than 4,000.
And I really like that you bring up slows in this game, because I don't think I've ever really seen a bigger Merc Treads game in my life. Unfortunately, it's hard to do, because then you're going to take a ton of damage from JiaQi in this situation. It also unlocks Kanavi to do some extra too, but the amount of slows available to TES is ridiculous through just base abilities. Then you bring the ultis in as well, and you are moving at a quarter pace most of the time. How are you meant to weave your way through a team fight as a Corki or as a Taliyah when that's happening?
And that matters so much to champions like Trundle, Ornn, and Taliyah, where they don't really have the strongest ability to get out of those bad scenarios. I mean, at least Ornn can charge his way through or try and negate some CC with the Bellows Breath, but Trundle and Taliyah, if their flashes are down, then they are just cooked as soon as they get tagged by anything that slows them down, because they don't have a way to dash, they don't have a way to blink outside of their own summoner spell. And with Top Esports having full control of this bottom side of the map, we have to imagine that with Otacon spawning, that is the next play, and FPX are really going to have to pray to turn it around.
Yeah, they're going to need to find themselves a couple of those miracle fights, and I gotta be honest, I want to see more map rotation. Don't really feel like Care has been using that Weaver's Wall to get involved across the map once again. We're again seeing one of these passive Taliyahs.
Once again, like you called out in the previous series for WE, FPX, if you have this Taliyah, you want to move around. Obviously, the early game did not pan out great for Care, but there were still some windows before these objectives spawned out to try and find those advantages. But it's just been trying to play for the objectives themselves, and unless you're finding crucial cutoffs with the walls, you're losing out on so much value. And no one's able to respond to Creme pushing on the bottom side of the map, so Top Esports get even more gold for themselves, push the advantage to around 5,000. This is now resulting in item spike advantages for some of the carries on Top Esports, so FPX, they're even less favored to win straight up 5-on-5 fights.
JackeyLove well on the way towards that third item being completed for him. He's going to be hitting like an absolute truck, weaving through all of those spells as well with the Flicker Blades in inventory. He's in a very strong spot to be able to carry out onto the squad, but he doesn't even need to. It doesn't feel like a single member of TES has to be that main carry in this game. Everybody's got themselves at least some form of advantage. FPX looking aggressive here, but I think they're going to get turned onto.
Get out of the choke point, get out of the choke point. This is where an equalizer dream can be laid right on top of it, and now FPX are forced to bail. Once again, called the Forge God negated by a simple shield thrown out by the Braum, and FPX are now down to a Magnet Storm for a Miracle Engage.
Yeah, there's very little left for them. I was surprised to see Kanavi flash his way away without using that Cataclysm, but he clearly didn't feel confident in that fight, and there's no need to over-aggress onto it right now. We'll see. Will FPX feel confident enough to step up? Because, I don't know, that's a lot of darkness they'll be walking into.
And JackeyLove gets the push into mid-wave, so someone from FPX has to respond. It looks like Top Esports, though, are taking their time with it. They're not rushing the game. They know that they're in the driver's seat, and they're not pressed to try and close out the game anytime soon. Other than ornaments coming online, there's not a lot of huge scaling investments that you're worried about FPX getting for themselves, so I appreciate the patience that Top Esports are taking with this one.
Yeah, I love the fact that they're just slowing this down a little bit. That has been where TES have occasionally lost out, is they do play a little bit too aggressive, can over-index into fights that they don't necessarily win. And instead in this game, deep breath, taking it at the correct pace for themselves right now. They do have themselves these big item spikes. They can go in, but it's about finding that correct moment. Looks like that correct moment might be happening any second now, as FPX are forced to once again check darkness if they want to walk towards this Drake.
Sheer spotted on that Banana Brush control ward. JackeyLove, decent chunk from the side of FPX. That's about a third of his HP gone now, and he doesn't have any real sustain. Creme trying to get some poke down onto JiaQi in return. Still complete darkness in the Dragon Pit. FPX might just concede it since they have the dragon advantage for themselves and just look for the tier 1 turret in mid lane.
I prefer this, I really do, out of FPX. Get yourself a little bit of standing gold. Now they just need to make sure that they can get away, because TES, they are on the hunt right now. If they can find themselves and engage, they're absolutely going to go for it.
Gotta be careful here. Kanavi stepping forward alongside Creme. Goes in with flag and drag. Doesn't throw out the Cataclysm yet. Now trying to jump on top of it. JiaQi forced to flash away from the hot pot combo. But Sheeran snagged. Forced to flash away. Doesn't get tagged by the Winner's Bite, so he might have a chance to walk away safely. But FPX lose out on 2 flashes from their 2 champions.
And you now don't get to play that fight similarly in the next round. Now you don't have those flashes, you have to play even further back. You can't afford to just push up and try to get yourself a little bit of extra on towards that tower. And I was watching the damage done during that fight. 369, nearly 3k damage in one fight. He is absolutely cooking through FPX, and he's still only sat on those 2 items. Once he gets that 3rd item completed, it's going to be so tricky to play out. I mean, Sheer is a tank. He's got himself a upgraded Kanik in inventory, and he's still nearly died pretty much just to that equalizer damage.
Power of the Bloodletter's Curse, 2nd item, being able to shred that MR, and it makes a champion like Creme able to effectively deal with any member that is tagged by 369's damage, as this is some beautiful coordination. I don't know how I feel about Liandry's Torment in general on Aurora, but at least he's got a Shadow Flame, so the lower they get, the more likely he's going to start hitting some big crits on them, and that is where Aurora can just be the burst assassin that you want her to be to assassinate FPX's backline.
Kind of don't mind. Oh, hang on. Is he just going to get himself taken out right here? Big damage.
Throws out the shield. Wait, he's not going to have Unbreakable Shield for this one. This is Sheer's moment to find JackeyLove for the Call of the Forge God, but no one from FPX could follow up, and it's 369 that chases them away with the Equalizer. Kanavi throws the Equalizer down. Creme flashes over the wall, looking for care. Blasts him with the weirding and dances right on back. Thanks to Between Worlds. JiaQi, the last man standing, can't hope to do a damn thing, and Top Esports find their moment to take the Otacon.
FPX aren't even going to be able to grab themselves a single kill. Kanavi went so low, but he is able to walk away with Otacon picked up here. You have to imagine this is going to be the beginning of the end in this first game. TES, they are in complete control. It's been domination for them from pretty much 12 minutes into this game until now.
For a moment, Bloxxer, for a single moment, it seemed like Hong had given FPX the one window to come back in this game. That's where Jwei just springs on top of it. They even connect the Call of the Forge God, but then it's just the turnaround from Top Esports that ruins their day.
The re-engage is so strong, and Kanavi here, he manages to get 3 people into that cage. Obviously, JiaQi and Care can jump back over the wall, but they still get cooked on down. You're only going to be able to limp a single lonesome member away from that team fight. TES, they're now hunting on through the jungle. Jwei just going to get jumped right here. I think he just falls.
This rail doesn't have flash. Just auto the turret, guys. I mean, it's literally nothing.
Guys.
Yeah. 0-7, Jwei. You got nowhere else to go.
Yeah, RIP to him, and RIP to FPX's chances of playing spoiler, at least in this first game. Big damage coming on through. Creme.
Knock up onto Care. Kanavi forced to flash away. The Equalizer is going to burn him down with the Liandry's Torment burn. Care barely survives, but Creme is able to fight 1. He's able to fight 2, and the Spirit Abjuration passive combined with the Shadow Flame and Liandry's is enough to finish off JiaQi. And just like that, FPX lose 3 just in time for Top Esports to start the Baron.
That's now going to be a 22-stack Medjai's Aurora right here for Creme. He's hitting like a truck as well. No member on TES isn't doing their part in this one. And every time FPX think they've potentially found themselves a little bit of a re-engage, they've got somebody a little bit low, they just don't have the damage to be able to finish off these kills. You've got to remember that a bunch of these kills that you have of FPX came within the first couple of minutes of this game. And since that point, it just hasn't happened. I mean, look right here. Equalizer again. People are in the Equalizer for 1, maybe a second tick of that burn damage. But it just keeps going. It keeps on hurting you. And then the same thing. We were talking about the Liandry's onto Creme here as well. Just having that little bit of extra burn is so nice for these situations. And, hey, it's working out for them so far.
And I'm going to pose a question on behalf of my producer, who has been asking this for a long time now. Why does a burst assassin like Aurora get a max HP % damage burn on her passive? Insane. Insane that exists.
Riot Games, baby! That is just... Hey, why not? Give it another tool. It's a new champion. And to be fair, I've seen plenty of Auroras do absolutely nothing. This champion isn't actually easy to make work. The thing is, it has so many tools that when you're good on it, when you're able to play it well, as Creme has so far in this game, it feels so oppressive, doesn't it?
Uh-oh. Care realizes that he is out of bounds in illegal territory. He weavers walls out, but JiaQi, he's not going to be so lucky. Oh no, Care doesn't have flash. He flicks them back, but he's still locked in the baby cage. Jwei trying to do everything he can to save his mid laner, but the equalizer will be the final tick in the back. FPX just crumbling one after another. A triple kill goes over to the way of 369's Rumble, who has just literally been on fire this game.
I mean, just this whole game, TES have been burning through the members of FPX. 369, he's gonna have such ridiculous damage stats at the end of this one. And now, with the Baron buff on top of these members, these towers are gonna fall. Bot lane inhibitor tower goes down. The bot lane inhibitor should well follow. And this game is so close to being done.
And normally we associate Phoenixes for being able to rise from the ashes, to reborn from even the most disastrous tragedies. I don't think it's happening in this game. They're just going to have to wrap it up and think about what they can do going into Game 2 of this series.
Back to the drawing board. Try it back again. There was always a worry with this composition that a lot of their damage was a little bit short range, that you were potentially going to get run around. JiaQi, he tries again. He's been trying this entire game, but the seismic shove doesn't even land.
Jwei sends it, 3-man Magna Storm, but Equalizer in this choke point is so crazy and dangerous.
Okay.
369 does get shut down here. Wait a minute, but JackeyLove with the calling of Kanavi dunks them with the Cataclysm, and Sheer able to find a knockup, but just does no damage on this horn. And now JackeyLove is on the hunt for some more kills. Creme and Kanavi ready to back him up, and this Ram God is about to get absolutely ranched. And Top Esports just being able to finish the job. A triple kill going over to Kanavi, and FPX down on their last legs.
Yeah, this is a single team fight where FPX are able to grab a member. 369, he does go down, but it doesn't matter. The re-engage is way too strong right here out of TES, and they're going to push their way on into the base. Care, he throws out the Weaver's Wall, tries to just slow things down a little bit, but it's not going to matter. This is going to be TES taking game 1.
Care doing everything he can, but everything that he can do is just not enough, unfortunately. Top Esports with a massive 17,000 gold advantage to close out game 1. We're going to take the series lead.
And this is what we expected. This is what a top team versus a bottom team should look like. Still, the amount of domination that we ended up seeing surprises me. I mean, it shouldn't, but it did. Towards the end of this game, it felt like there was basically nothing that they could do whatsoever.
Like you said, back to the drawing board. There are some good things that FPX did early on. JiaQi understood that Care getting dropped early on and 2 kills effectively going over to Lucian's Way is not a great way to start things off. Having summoner spells burnt, and didn't seem like there was any realistic way to try and punish these lack of summoner spells from these big carries from Top Esports. But he just said, guys, let's just play for objectives. We'll play for feats of warfare that way. And it was kind of working. And then I think it was the Rift Herald fight that just really destroyed them when they all grouped up, and Top Esports just ran away with the game from there on.
Yeah, the one fights were won before 369 was there. The second that 369 arrived, he was just able to completely take over the game. He would absolutely be my pick for MVP, but it's going to be a hard sell because Kanavi was popping off, Creme was popping off, JackeyLove, I feel like it was a little bit quieter out of him just because he didn't need to be that main carry, but he was still pumping that damage.
Yeah. I was curious, item tangent aside, if he was going to go the Kraken Slayer. I know there's been some discussion from AD carry mains that they like the large earlier spike from Kraken, and that the Essence Reaver Navori Flicker Blades is sometimes a little bit too greedy, but JackeyLove really wanted to prioritize the mobility that he got from being able to proc resets off of his Relentless Pursuit. And I think into a composition like FPX where you have 2 main forms of engage and you're able to dodge all of them, or at least always count on your Braum to block one of them,
Yeah.
that mobility becomes very, very valuable.
Absolutely, and it just meant that he was able to weave his way through the fights, and there was just never a moment in which it felt like FPX could pick any of these members. The mobile ones were weaving their way around, the immobile ones were just dealing so much damage that you couldn't afford to sit there and try to hit them. I mean, this is probably the worst that it looks here. This is a dive that takes way too long out of TES, they give over a bunch of kills, but again, look at who isn't here. Look at who isn't around at this point. What is happening whilst everybody's running around, being chased down in the bottom lane, is you've currently got 369 absorbing tower plates top lane, getting himself to that first item. Leandri's in inventory, and then 3, 2, 1, ulti comes on through right here, and this was it. This was the moment in which it flipped, and this was very early on into the game.
And I have to shout out Creme, because this mid laner sometimes will kind of fumble and choke, even though he is definitely one of our mechanically more talented mid laners that we have in the LPL. He is part of that newer, younger generation of mids trying to make a name for himself in the league, trying to contest the old heads of Xiaohu and Rookie and Knight, who is not necessarily in the old head generation with Xiaohu and Rookie, but he's not necessarily super young, like
middle-aged.
Yeah, he's the halfway
Knight.
point, right?
Yeah.
And there's a reason why Knight is considered the best mid laner in the league, because he is, I think he's just at his prime and peak right now, and Creme for the past couple of years has been trying to level up his game so that he can contest Knight. He was able to prove that he was the best mid laner by the time we got to Split 1 finals, but consistency issues has plagued this guy over the course of the year. Sometimes he just has strange, weird moments, but he recovered well after the early game could have looked shaky for top esports off of the failed dive.
I've been really enjoying the way that Creme has been playing most recently. I think he's been looking pretty damn good, and in this game, it was great. I was really surprised when we got to see that damage graph that he did just 1,000 damage less than 369 did. It's very easy to end up with a 42% damage share on the Rumble, because the Equalizer is a lot easier to hit damage-wise than all of the Aurora spells. There are plenty of games in which Aurora never ever gets going, isn't able to get into the backline. It feels like a completely useless champion. But in this game, Creme was just all over the backline, was using that between worlds beautifully.
Yeah, this was the Aurora that you have to play against in your promo games to, like,
oh yeah,
Diamond, Emerald, or Masters, whatever, and you just get absolutely obliterated, and you're just questioning to yourself, man, why couldn't I get that guy on my team? Why is there a 25 Magi stack Aurora just absolutely blowing up my backline, and there's nothing, literally nothing that you can do about it?
Yep, I get a Chorus performance whenever I'm playing with that champion. And my opponents always get Creme performances.
I think a more accurate... I mean, Karis wasn't that bad today, if we're going to be 100% honest. I think...
Ooh,
I mean,
okay.
A typical Karis performance makes sense. In this day and age, Bloxxer, it feels like I'm getting a scout performance, you know, when that happens.
Oh, wow, we are really throwing the shade right here.
My heart is still for that